And welcome back to the First Strike North America Close Qualifiers, presented to you by Nerd Street Gamers. I'm joined by Legs and Vansili, and we're heading into the final map in this semi-finals game between Envy and the Renegades. Guys, we heavily praised the Renegades earlier after their Ascent performance, but Legs, how good are Envy on Split?
I mean, clearly they know what they're doing, man. Like, that was so impressive to watch. Like, on map 1, how good Renegades was, and we were hyping them up, telling the story about, oh my goodness, this is so impressive. And it seems as though Envy has taken a key in on that and been like, we got split. It's fine. There was at no point in that game where Renegades even seemed to have an opening, some kind of attack that they could go to and rely on for success. And, you know, most of the lopsided score lines that we've seen in this tournament on any map usually are the same story, where the entries aren't going your way. You're being picked off before you can execute, and the retakes were flawless for Envy. So in terms of whether or not map 3 is up for grabs, right? I don't even think that's a question, right? At the beginning of the pregame, we talked about if it goes to map 3, this favors Envy. Yeah. So I'm worried for Renegades at this point, but that just looked like a hot performance out of Envy to me.
Yeah, I feel the same for Renegades now. It's going to be a tough battle. I don't think we had a chance to see enough of Renegades on Bind, so seeing how the map rotation went with the ban coming in for Haven for the Renegades, I mean, hopefully they have something thinking that it's going to go that deep, right? Because technically, looking how Renegades played, yes, they won versus Cloud9 on that map. Yes, they won versus Cloud9 on Ascent. But the thing is they probably still expected that it was going to go to a 3 map. So looking at this map that remains with Bind, knowing how Envy once again has been very strong on this map, and also due to the fact that Renegades had a chance to watch Envy play versus Complexity earlier on today, might be that little moment of salvation that could maybe help make this a close game between Renegades and Envy.
Of course, we do have this seeding decider here, but I also wanted to quickly touch on the game that's just concluded on the other stream, which is TSM versus 100 Thieves. And like Cloud9 Blue, TSM are out. They will not be making that 4th spot into the main event, and they have to re-qualify with the EMG qualifier next week. Vansili, are you surprised that this happened?
I'm super surprised. I think at this point, well, we knew, and we were talking about it with Lex yesterday when we were casting 100 Thieves versus Cloud9, is that on paper 100 Thieves looks very good, but there's still like a big question mark as to see now where it matters in the first strike. How do they look right now? Will they have like the competency to make it into the top 4? It's a tough battle versus TSM, and to see that it goes into a 3rd map, and I think the 3rd map went into overtime, right? Or even a 2nd map went into overtime for the win. I didn't look at the whole thing because we were casting this matchup, but to see TSM getting knocked out is, for me, an upset for sure. And during our break, and I probably have about 8 to 20 windows of Twitter right now, so I could just have fun and read what's going on in the end. But TSM are one of those teams for me that they get knocked down, but they get up and they get up and they probably pump iron at the same time, and they come back in full strength. So it sucks for them to get knocked out so early, but I think they're definitely going to be showing with a lot of practice going into the UMG qualifier, and then just going to be one of those 4 to 8 teams remaining in the close qualifier that's going to make it to their first strike.
And still, you and me both. I also am scoping out the Twitter beef and the shade and the memes that are being thrown back and forth right now. And I got to tell you, I love it. I love it. The Valorant NA rivalries and the storylines that they give us. I'm eating it up. Now, then again, I look like an idiot now, because yesterday I'm telling the angry 100 Thieves fans that are angry that their team lost, I'm like, listen, trust the process. They're going to be a great team someday. Just be patient. And here they are qualifying for the event the very next day against the likes of TSM. So congratulations to 100 Thieves.
Amazing.
Hot damn. And on top of that, you know, TSM fans are also going to be rife and angry about this, of course. However, I think Vansili just hit the nail on the head, man. Like, especially when you're playing at the level that they are, and they are such a high caliber team. Like, you're going to be facing series where everybody's out to get you. It's going to be tough to even just qualify for this because you've got a target on your back, and they're going to concede some series. It's going to happen. But I think you're right. They'll bounce back. They'll be just fine. I'm never worried about TSM being competitive. They'll be
exactly.
Here.
Well, either Renegades or Envy could potentially be going up against 100 Thieves in the finals if they do win this. This is, of course, the decider, excuse me. And for the last time tonight, you two take us through Game 3.
Thank you so much, Ginsu. And even then, whoever wins this matchup potentially could beat 100 Thieves, but 100 Thieves still have to beat Sentinels. So it's still going to be not easy here for the route that 100 Thieves has throughout this whole tournament. But let's focus back into this third map. Renegades versus Envy, tied 1-1, where we have that pinch going back into the A side again for Renegades. And it's Fergie opening it up as he's turtling inside the site. He's the anchor player, gets 1 kill, running back to the teleporter. They're getting chased at the same time, but there is one waiting inside that teleporter as they run through. Food gets the first kill, traded off by Randy Savage inside that area, but they have made it inside the site, and you also have to thank the trap wires that were left inside towards B and the camera. It's being a nuisance right now for Caboose, and he's looking, and now he's getting drone, he's getting camera. Man, he's got a target on his back when we were talking about targets on backs, and he still manages to stay alive. Nobody's pushing forward from that. A recon dart towards the ground, the first chip to come through, and Randy Savage finally gets the kill after all that, and a wall bang for the end.
If you could see my face right now, man, I'm losing it. That was we've seen so many crazy pistols today, but we just saw 5 Renegades players facing down 5 Envy players at A because they took the teleporter from B, right? So you had a 5-on-5 A site hold on pistol, essentially. 4 out of 5 players, basically all 5 players of Envy take the teleporter, and all 5 players of Renegades take the teleporter. Like, the amount of movement that all 10 of these players in the server just did in the pistol round is absurd. And the fact of the matter is, I love it. That was wild. And Renegades came out top with what I would describe as an unconventional strategy on pistol that just pays off hard. And like you said, Food and that teleporter desperately trying to hold that TP. But when you have 5 players jumping through it all at the same time, you're lucky to even get one. That said, Renegades, who really, eventually on Ascent, they took the strong lead after winning pistol, after winning the first few rounds. They didn't get ecoed. They were able to get an early lead. They were able to get the economy rolling. And that's why it seemed so one-sided early on in map 1. Now, here in map 3, after getting decimated, looking for a little bit of momentum coming your way. Finally winning that pistol. I think, as this A play comes out, the force buy from Envy, this is so important for Renegades to hold. And Renegades will grab the first, then 2 of those players fall. So U-Haul still in possession of, I believe that's Bergie in there. Yes, Crashy's is going to try and flank him. He's facing every bit of opposition from this Envy squad. And both those players may just TP to B at this point, and there they go. And they should be able to get the spike here. There's only a camera as the cage gets popped. But Renegades facing this force buy down into a 2v2 post-plant scenario.
I like how they knew exactly where the camera was at too, as soon as they got through that cyber cage. So that nullifies things, and the recon dart doesn't spot much. We're trying to bang through the tuna can, and from that shot, they know somebody's playing close, and it's gonna be Mumme. It's traded off though. Last one's about to run through the smoke. He hears the footsteps as Caboose is moving forward. The tap, the kill, and it's gonna be the force buy in favor of Envy.
Man, I was trying to build it up like this is so important for Renegades. They can't lose it. And I almost feel a little responsible because Caboose clearly took that energy and just wiped the floor with Renegades with it. Well played to Envy. That was a sick round. You make the contact over at U-Haul, and Renegades is doing the right thing. Retro's there with I believe it was a judge, right? He has his rotators in there, and you're playing that angle. You're playing that position, to force Envy into a crossfire. And it seemed like Renegades, one after another, are solo challenging it. Instead, I don't know whether that was a miscue or what, but Envy capitalized. Some nice shots came out. And yeah, another force buy that just is successful in a way that we didn't, I won't say that I'm rarely seeing it by any means, but certainly in this series, the force buys have been potent, to say the very least. Not just the Sheriff buys, not just the likes of Envy, but they're so scary consistently in these rounds where, you want to almost think of it as a straight up gun round. And, we were talking about it a bit in the last map, with the way the money system works, Vancillians, it's something I actually really enjoy about Valorant. It's just kind of forcing players as the meta shifts towards using full SMGs and not upgrading early. And you know, it's a very diverse, I'd say, weapon selections across the course of a match.
Yeah.
It's
And
just cool to see the change in the meta in that way.
And at the same time, we're like, oh, well, when this map first came and the gimmick of the teleporter, it's like nobody wants to use it because it makes so much noise. And now you see how consistently it's being used and how you have evolved from like using an owl drone to open some sliding doors, some paint shells, some darts here and there. And now it goes out to even fully body pushes into the teleporter for trades. So you're starting to see how these maps are continuing to develop in terms of strategy and how they want to use it to their advantage on either what team you are. But let's focus back on the action match. There's only 10 seconds left, and they still haven't gotten the plant yet. Finally, they do so, and unfortunately, they cannot flank fast enough.
If Winsome had killed him with the Roomba, very decent chance Envy doesn't plant the spike in time. Despite that, they do. They clean up the kills. And yeah, just Bergie here in a 1v3. I don't anticipate he'll get anything else out of here, but 13 HP remaining. Kind of a tough spot. But yeah, I just wanted to take that around and be like, yo, Van Silly, how cool is it that that the economy is kind of like not necessarily dictating changes in the way that we're seeing the economy shift around, but this could have something to do with the op meta kind of being pushed around towards later stages in the half. And the reason I say that is, you know, a lot of time those ghost saves from the pistol that we referenced, you know, frequently at least as being a risk, not having firepower and maybe being a reason why your team gets ecoed. Now you're seeing, you know, most sides are opting to just full buy into it with Spectres or Stingers. And the result of that is, you know, you maybe get an operator a little bit later on in the game, but you have a more consistent economy. You have these rounds that are much more straightforward and consistent. And so, you know, moving into this gun round here for Renegades, you look for the first kill is so important, and there it is from Retro. It's a good response to Envy's early, I'd say, lead through brute force over here at B, and now we're moving back to the A side, and Food is going to get a wall bang on a Retro who's trying to get out of the way. Or he's going to face the challenge next. Finds a spike on Caboose, dropped him. Traded out quickly by Food, 3-on-3. Should get the spike down here at any moment, but the showstopper from Winsome scares them enough to at least delay that somewhat.
I don't think they have spike control.
Spike is down in showers, yes, right below Winsome. And, you know, we see Food pressuring CP2. He's going to find the kill. Mame with the flank. Suddenly this is a 1-on-2. This went from Renegades' advantage into an almost unwinnable situation from Winsome. And wow, Envy. I don't know what just happened with the miscues from Renegades, but a lot of over-peaking being done, throwing that advantage into the wind, and unfortunately, unawares as to the location of Mame, who's flanking through heaven, and that's just unfortunately for CP2.
Definitely a mix of that.
I was getting really excited in building that round up, Van Silly, to be like, you know, a good mark and a starting point for a Renegades half, and, you know, unfortunately, we may be looking at a repeat of what Split was, right? Where Envy just kind of runs away with it.
Well, it's just the angles that they had, too, from the remaining players, is after you lose the first player inside showers, nobody's able to watch the angle towards you anymore, which now makes it that the last two players are very tunnel vision on the two players of Envy that are pushing solely from the APC side, which allows Mame to get that flank and then the backstab in the end. So, yes, definitely some miscommunication from Renegades at that point, and that's going to put them back on an eco where they definitely could have turned it around onto the last half, or the last round, especially when they got so many kills early into that round. And yeah, FNS is just going to continue to get these type of kills this time.
He's cheating.
Don't say that. How about these
Retro
ones?
is too. Look at this man. He's collecting headshots.
Yeah, so two dices coming in from the kunais. Up towards short A, but the rest are now moving inside the B site for Envy. That's 3 players alive. Now Retro on his own. Still has his eyes out. 4 blades. Dashes towards the site. Another refresh. Vandal picked up. Little upgrade coming through. And now he's just going to tap onto the spike. A big curveball. And a Roomba that's going to come back at the same time. Now as he comes towards the left, he gets the kill. Looks to the left. Can he get it? He runs out of mines. Too slow on the Vandal to come out as Caboose saves it for Envy, but it was so close for Retro on the eco for Renegades to make it 3-2. But unfortunately, it's a different storyline, it's a different timeline, and it's Envy in the lead by 3.
Oh my goodness, he outplayed them so hard. He throws the tailwind onto the spike, so the Roomba isn't going to detect whether or not he's there. So the flash comes out, the Raze has to wide swing, that was Caboose. And unfortunately, Retro just could not land those daggers in the end, but almost gets it done. Tremendous effort out of him. And Renegades getting a second stab at what I would say a chance to take control of this half. This gun round is so huge in regards to building an economy
sand.
and yeah, just ever fleeting. The idea that you can somehow gain control against Envy, who is just rebounding so well after that first map loss. Fergie getting scanned, forced to fall back. The ultimate from Food does get popped. The run it back finds one under Retro. That's a huge entry on Caboose. FNS grabbing one more before Winsome trades of just one kill out. That will be U-Haul. Grabs another one on the run. Drive by in a third headshot out of Winsome. The Vandal comes through in a big way. And suddenly this is an advantage towards Renegades in the post plan as FNS wraps around. I take it back. Suddenly it's just one player remaining on Randy Savage. A little quiet over here in the last several rounds and finds himself in a 1v2 scenario, finds the first kill, moving out of the bomb site. 1v1, clock ticks away as the spike creeping towards detonation. FNS, who is wrapped around that truck and found two different kills, grabs his third on Randy Savage with the elusive Cypher plays. You know, looking so good for Envy right now at 5-1. I wonder whether or not the momentum that we described that was moving into split, right? You know, you have a great map one, Van Silly, and then maybe all the magic is gone at this point. 5-1 Envy is in command of this game. On top of that as well, I'm just checking the scoreboard here. You know, you do have both Hunter's Fury up, but I'm a little concerned whether or not, you know, the defender side of Bind, typically we could think of this map as defender sided. Whether there's anything that, you know, other than building an economy and winning a couple of these rounds, Renegades, you know, has an answer for. Like, these rounds are close, but Envy just seems unfazed.
Yeah, so far it's been these pulse plants retakes. I think that seems to be the bigger issue for Renegades, because they do have the right positioning, they do have the right amount of numbers. Then well, at least the ones that are anchoring, if they're being outnumbered, they're still getting kills too. So it might go back to that same type of conversation: is are they actually letting Envy get too much map control, where they actually fight back? I wouldn't say so, because there was that one gun round where you had Mummy that got that flank onto Heaven. They pressed double two players towards the showers and even dropped the spike carrier in that area. And as you see, they're going through the teleporter and they're trying to go and do these big plays and try to backstab Envy and surprise the elements. So they are trying to get the map control and they are trying to surprise their opponent, but it's not working out. So yes, of course, it was still a small buy going in here.
Ha! You don't see that too often.
I always miss knives in Valorant. I don't know why. It's not the same as CS. I'm just terrible at knifing, yet I still spend money on packages.
Between the FOV and the range on the knife, yeah, no, I whiff them all the time. Yeah. I'm actually stunned that he had the confidence to go for it. Even if he knows that, you know, he's going to be stabbing somebody in the back. I feel like me in that scenario, I win. You know what I mean? Like, the knife hits nothing but air. Yep. He turns around slowly. The observer catches every moment of it, and I'm humiliated for the rest of my life. So, Mame going for the knife kill there. A little bit of style points, even if it is on an anti-eco. And you know, kind of what you're saying, you know, about the state of this game at this point. I just hope to see a response in Renegades at some point in this game to make this a little bit closer, because, you know, the last map rather was hard to describe it any other way than the stomp, you know?
It's gonna start with the ops, Lex. We're gonna hope that the op that they finally invest into CP2 is gonna be that answer that they're looking for. And they also still have that Hunter's Fury. So I think so far, in my opinion, for this round, this type of round, I'd probably still give the op to somebody like the Jet Opper with Retro. And then, because you have a Hunter's Fury, if you're actually going to have your opponent that's going to watch from that cubby area into the Octagon anyways, if he spawns people, you can pop your Hunter's Fury right away. But instead, they have two players together watching that angle to start. And now they're both watching towards the hookah area where Randy Savage dies, unfortunately, right? So you have to be discovered already there because your teammate wasn't there to help you because he had an owl drone to try to scout out towards the B side area. At least CP2 connects to a shot, but he's already down to 2 HP. This is going to be impossible for him to stay alive. But check that out. He gets a no-scope onto Caboose as he flies towards the air. But then Food retaliates. That's 2 kills of his own. A 3 versus 2 now as Retro's looking for that flank. Pujan, FNS just at the bottom of the window looking up towards the air. A date to come through, and he gets the wall bang onto Mame. Then the crossfire setup. The Tides have turned. Renegades takes the upper hand, and we have Food on his own. And funny enough, he actually switches out to the operator that was left behind from his opponent. This is going to be a hard hold. A dash into the site. The right clicks have to ring true, and he gets the first contact. No, actually rings off the tin. And Retro gets the last kill, and Renegades a much-needed round as they capitalize on it.
CP2. CP2. What was that shot, man?
That was beautiful,
Oh
man.
my goodness.
I don't even know if he scoped or not. It was so fast.
Oh, it was a quick scope, but it didn't even get to that point. He just let it rip. He knew he was dead a moment later. Wow, the fact that that landed. I mean, you pointed out several different, aspects of their B hold and their defense right there that are pretty glaring and things that I didn't even notice or think about, Vansili, but I wonder whether or not Renegades, watching this VOD back later tonight when they're like, how did we lose this bad in this half? Can go back and at least listen to that insight because that's actually a valid point regarding the Hunter's Fury. I mean, that would have stopped that B push pretty succinctly, I feel like. At least coming out of hookah, but doesn't matter. I guess if you just point towards the sky and click with your operator, sometimes that gets the job done even better. But wow, what a shot. That'll end up on Twitter being circulated on the internet for a while, I imagine. That said, you know what? If there was going to be a momentum swinging round, a lot of times you see like clutches or like sick aces be the defining point in a game where, or huge mistakes where teams either lose or win. That could be it. Maybe a momentum swing where finally the teammates, everybody's up and hyped, screaming about it.
Joke's over. You're dead.
Nevertheless, a push coming in quickly from Envy. Fergie fends off the ultimate, 2 ultimates, mind you, and finding a kill on Caboose. Well done to him. Udo and FNS do find kills, but the showstopper from Winsome cleans up another refrag. 3-on-3 now. Food forced to heal himself a bit at bench. Misses his toss, but it doesn't matter. Winsome flubs the what would have been an easy kill there. Now it's a 3-on-2. Renegades spoiling their advantage, and Food over here at Showers is going to opt to probably wrap back around all the way as his position has been revealed, and this is looking bad for Renegades now, having just won the previous. You're facing the loss of an operator, potentially anyway, if he doesn't save it, and an economic reset, and really, this A push should have been stopped by Renegades, and it straight up was not, despite the fact that, both ultimates out of Envy were spoiled. Bergie popped the Phoenix, run it back, and then stopped the Caboose showstopper post-release of it, of course, but it looked like an amazing A-hold in the making, but instead Envy getting the better of Renegades once again. 7-2. This half is already lost, but you want every round that you could possibly, scrape together at this point, Vansili.
Yeah. And Retro's going to go for a Bucky because with this buy, he could still have the Blade Storm. So use that for long range, Bucky for short range, unless he wants to go for a quick dash towards the ramp. And here we go. The dash comes through. A big paranoia, but he gets flashed himself and unfortunately does not connect to any kills. At least CB2 is able to trade it off towards with an operator from the hookah side down the ramp. That's a spike down as well. They haven't really adapted yet because you still have FNS lurking towards this short A. CB2 falling back into the site. His teammate as well. And FNS has made it behind a towel box. Well, that spike is looking to get picked up and be met up with FNS as he already has that control, but this is a perfect camera setup from Randy Savage. That's going to see the Showers. That's going to see Edward. That's going to start walking towards the A main. And that is also going to be an Omen teleport from the heavens too. So definitely difficult position now for Renegades, but a double up on Showers could definitely be doable. Paranoia to look back towards the spawn from Mame. a smoke towards the showers that nullifies all type of defense towards the entrance. And that should allow now Envy to get into the site.
Spike planted.
Spike will get planted. End up in PT right there as TP2. He misses his shot. Mummy capitalizes. And Renegades, who consistently have been outmaneuvered and outplayed in a lot of these mid-round scenarios. Envy showing why we regard them as one of the better teams in North America. That said, Randy Savage with a rebuttal of his own finds two Vandal Crisp taps down at U-Haul. Hat comes out. Information will be revealed, but Mame will get the first kill, and now it's just Bergie. Yeah, time is ticking. This is most certainly an Envy round, but just for a moment in this game, maybe 2 moments, Renegades look like they might have a chance, but Envy is just snatching that away now. In fact, if you look at the scoreboard, you see Crashy's at 2 and 8, you know, just kind of chilling over there on the other side of the map.
It's not needed.
Working a default, just watching his teammates farm. Yeah, he doesn't need to do a whole lot. And the other side of the scoreboard, I mean, it's a pretty fairly even distribution over here.
Yeah.
It seems like this is a team failure rather than an individual, you know, misplay or performance. So that's a good thing, I guess. But for Renegades now, this is not only frustrating for the second map in a row of really not having answers for this aggression out of Envy. I won't call it aggression, actually, just the attack side. They're working very slow and deliberate. But, you know, we could hope for 4 here. It's probably not going to happen. Caboose just handling business at Hookah. Satchel charges on in there and collects 2 beautiful kills. Retro hanging onto this Vandal outside showers may be something to keep an eye on as FNS seems to be wise to it. Retro still wins his battle, his duel. And you know what? This is a 1-on-5. I don't know if you're going to be able to do this, Retro, but
yeah,
why not, man? Still buy next round.
And as we
another
casted,
headshot.
When we casted Envy at the beginning of the round or beginning of the day versus Complexity, the question was like, what were our thoughts for the flashes of the Phoenix, right, on this map? Look at that, as I talked about it, a perfect curveball. Thankfully, the dark cover was there to help Retro, but at least it's helping press that pressure from all angles here for Envy for that 3 versus 1. But at the same time, as you saw that flash that came through from Food, he threw it straight into Hookah when Caboose is satchel charging into that area as well. So when we talked about Complexity that was missing a little bit of team play for Hookah control, Envy plays it a lot better, at least in my opinion, from also using the utilities to allow this map control for Envy inside that area. So those curveballs, as useful as it is to put the Blazewell up towards the cake on A side, still very good from the way it's being used here for the Hookah.
Yeah, actually, that's a great call, man. So that was something that we noticed earlier, was Food struggling to get into the B bomb site with Caboose on the Hookah control, and a lot of times you saw him get picked on the entry, but he is clearly, you know, reset from this morning and is absolutely taking matters into his own hands now. Retro with a rebuttal of his own once again, coming through the TP. He finds a spike for his, you know, little bit of effort.
Player remaining.
Had to sweat a bit for it, but got 2 in the spike. But Bergie stranded over here at Fountain. Obviously, I don't think, maybe it isn't obvious, but I don't think Envy has any idea he's over here. But this actually is a great power position for the rest of this round, barring the idea that maybe they go back towards A.
Exactly. I was going to say that was a possibility.
Player remaining.
Finds one at a Caboose. 1v1 now. FNS versus Bergie on the B bomb site. Spike not planted yet. 30 seconds remain. Paranoid comes out. It nails FNS
30
right
seconds
in the
left.
face. And Bergie takes the superior angle, catches FNS off guard, cleans up the 3rd headshot of the round, and hey,
Switching sides.
Renegades back on the board. 9-3 half.
Yeah, I don't think it's too late right now for Renegades. 9-3. Yes, it looks like it's a far spread, but again, it's that storyline of winning pistol and then losing on your anti-eco. Just makes it a little bit tougher. And I say anti-eco, but we did have the force coming through from Envy to be able to win that round. So they have to find a way to really try to swing those 2 rounds in a row, make that even the 3rd if they could use that bonus round versus the rifles. But we've seen a lot of success coming through here from Envy with that too.
Right.
And that's
hey,
mistakes on communications, right? So
wasn't it in the last map as well on Split? They won pistol, and then they like lost 6 straight or something like that.
Something like that.
Am I accurate? I might be wrong. I might be thinking of the complexity matchup earlier against Envy. However, it looks awfully familiar, like you were saying, Vans. I just wanted to emphasize what you were saying. Like,
well, I think I do remember
then,
like winning them winning pistol, and then they lost to 2 Sheriffs from Crashies and Caboose.
Right.
That I think was Ascent.
Yeah, I think I might need to fact check myself on that, but I do remember Envy taking like 5 rounds straight after that slide, and here we are. Yeah. You know, winning pistol, losing 6 straight. Suddenly we're at halftime. You're on an eco again. Maybe you hope for a bomb plant here, but the scoreline at 9-3, giving them the 10th round. Woo! I mean, you think about those 5 rounds in the context of a big game right here, right? Like that's a lot to concede just off the back of losing your anti-eco. And I think, you know, it's not just Renegades. We've seen it in a few different matchups so far this week, where teams really are struggling on anti-ecos because of the way the meta is right now. You know, stinger buys are very prevalent. People are getting extremely talented with sheriffs in this game. But, you know, that is not something that is overall very telling of a team's performance or whether or not they're going to be good down the line. So that's just another piece of homework for Renegades to work on and make sure that they're converting on those rounds, right?
Yeah.
So despite the fact that, you know, the scoreline is clearly showing Envy in both this map and the map prior, as you're saying, fans, this is unfortunately situations that are brought about by the fact that, you know, following pistol wins, losing those anti-ecos is so critical. Be building an early bank in these rounds, and the A play will coming out from Renegades, and Winston will find that stinger frag on a Mummy at U-Haul. A little surprising on that, but he gets it done. FNS strikes first on the Jet, Fergie, and CP2 battling it out on site, trading frags back and forth. 3 players each remaining. Needs some locked in here in U-Haul. Just needs his teammates to put the spike down to make this judge play worthwhile. I'm not sure, you know, whether or not the spike could even get planted without the Omen smokes being recharged, so they may just opt to delay a bit.
And even if they decide to take TP because they have pressure from Caboose now, there's still Crashies waiting on the left side wall of Hookah. They're stuck in a tight knit right now, and there you go. Fergie's the first one to go through, and man, this is danger all over. But he's looking at the angle. It's still going to be the kill from Crashies. The spike has been dropped, and things are looking not so great for Renegades right now. And even with a dart, why the hell not? Crashies started with 1 HP. Teammates falling down. Only Retro, the last man standing. He's looking for this kill. It's only 1 HP. And now there's only 10 seconds left, but by the time he actually finally gets control of Hookah, there's already FNS that already rotated. That's well done there for Envy at that point. I like the idea of what Renegades was doing at the beginning of the round, putting the room bot basically inside the Hookah, set dart that goes all the way from long B that bounces off the wall and goes on the top of Tuna Can, just to try to keep those guys cornered and anchored inside the site to allow to push inside the A area. But after that, there wasn't really anything else that could help for a surprise attack from where the position was from Lamps. So I don't know if a paranoia was thrown or not, but that could have been something that could have been useful as they wanted to explode into the A site.
FNS taking this dry challenge over here at Showers. Randy Savage, sharp with his aim, gets the better of him. Mame over here at U-Haul facing the heat, and he responds appropriately. Finding 2 kills. Renegades now with 3 members remaining. Randy Savage moved out of that Showers position. Is at a triple now. Finds the kill on him. The refrag does come out despite the fact that he has 1 HP, so he'll fall. And now it's just 1 player remaining. That's Retro over in U-Haul. 1v3. And he has the angle over here on Raze. Finds the dink, finds the frag. Okay, that's 1. 2 players remain. 1 on flank over here at short. 1 at hell position. And I don't think... I imagine Retro knows that the threat is absolutely could be on his flank.
Oh, yeah. His teammate died with the
side of it. Well, he knows that the spike is down, so he doesn't realize... He's unsure of whether or not they're guarding the spike or if they're guarding him here at short. So he should fall in just a moment. And as I say that, he does a 180 and 1 tap crash in the face. Oh my goodness, that very nearly was the second one on the food. I'm starting to believe in the caster's curse. I'm like, and he's about to die from this guy who's peeking him from behind. And as I utter the words, Retro just showing off that aim, crisp, clean lock onto the head.
After 18 years, you'll understand that it happens very often. 18 years of casting, that every time you want to try to call somebody out, they always prove you wrong. You want to call a team out, they prove you wrong. So, kind of like it. I like to try to stay unbiased as possible and just enjoy the games as I go, which is why when people are trying to ask me for predictions, I'm like, I kind of don't want to. But
I want to see a good game, man. That's
exactly.
how I am. Absolutely.
That's all we want.
I don't really care. Hey, we're on match and series point, though.
Yeah.
12-3.
Oh, no. And it starts off with the kill from Caboose. They're still trying to add pressure here on the top of the long P. And that's going to be a running back canceled by Retro. He does have a knife out, but that's it. So he falls. They're trying to push forward now, and that's a huge curveball. Long range is going to be the Omen trying to fight against them. That's Bergie right there. And his teammates all across the map. You gotta try to work together here, and the Owl Drone's gonna spawn him. They have their Hunter's Fury. He's tagged. There's one. The kill from Caboose. 4 versus 1. The showstopper to end the deal, but Randy Savage says no. The spike is down, but Mummy finally puts him to the grave. And that's Envy winning this third and final map, 13-3, and this series 2-1.
There it is. Envy with a decisive map 2 and 3 victory. Despite dropping Ascent map 1, hats off to Renegades. You guys had one hell of a run today.
Hell yeah.
And congratulations on qualifying. But Envy, showing that they are absolutely still a cut above a lot of the competition here in North America, at least in the Valorant scene. So, for these guys, veterans from Counter-Strike and otherwise, I mean, their careers in Valorant maybe started a few months ago, where Renegades were really starting to see them finally be a team that maybe is in a conversation to be talked about as a top team in North America. Fortunately, dropping those 2 maps maybe delays that decision a little bit longer as far as the conversation goes. But hey, the fact is they took map 1 in a decisive way. Not really decisive. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I'd say that they won it cleanly despite the close scoreline, right? And Envy really is the team to beat as far as I'm concerned still. And they looked good, and it was well done to them to close out that series despite how it started.
Hell yeah. So it's now time to bring back Yinsu so we can close out the show. So Yinsu, welcome.
Thank you. That was a valiant effort from Renegades, but like you guys said, Envy are just too good, which means they are now in the finals. If I had told you that this is how the things were going to turn out, that it was going to be Envy, Renegades, Sentinels, and 100 Thieves being the 4 teams that make it to that main event a week ago, Vansili, would you have believed me?
I had 2 out of the 4. So I had Envy and and Sentinels. The other 2 for me were Cloud9 and TSM. But to see 100 Thieves make it through, happy about that performance. To see Cloud9 and TSM fall, though, those are definitely the sad portions of the tournament for me in terms of a fan of the scene. Definitely would love to see them bounce back. But yeah, definitely I would not have guessed 400 Thieves here in Renegades.
No, I definitely agree with you, Vansili. Neither of those teams were within my expectations to do well here at all. In fact, I mean, I almost always will undervalue and try and underwrite how good some of these newer rosters can be just by virtue of the fact that, most scenarios, most people struggle to get that teamwork and that level of skill and talent together, working well together as a team and a unit that quickly. That said, 100 Thieves just qualified. Okay, so for both of those teams, Renegades and 100 Thieves, who maybe don't have the most complete map pool and don't have the depth, maybe an agent selection, other teams haven't played against them as often. Maybe there's a lot that maybe you could extract out of this that we haven't talked about yet. But I do think that as far as Renegades and 100 Thieves go, they have some time now to go back, look at what they did right and wrong on some of these maps. And so the next time we see these 2 teams, I really do expect them to be competing at the top level of the North American scene. Absolutely.
As I said, Envy have made it through to that final now, but Sentinels are still playing 100 Thieves on the other main Nerd Street Gamer stream. As I understand, it is currently 8-5 or 8-6 to 100 Thieves. So they are leading Sentinels right now, and you guys can see on the bracket, if one of those teams, whoever it might be, if they go through tonight, they will be playing Envy tomorrow. And we haven't been told too much about how the seedings will work, but I will assume based on the fact that this is the first qualifier and based on the fact that naturally the stronger teams are going to be in this one, that whoever wins this tomorrow will potentially go into the main event as the first seed. Now, that might not necessarily mean like it's a good thing, because TSM and Cloud9 are going to be in the UMG qualifiers, which means even if you do win and you do get the first seed, you might have to face TSM or Cloud9 Blue early. So this is going to be quite interesting. Lex, what do you think?
That would be so heartbreaking. Like, if you're a team that is just like, we're young, up-and-coming talent, we want to really make this next qualifier, and then you draw like Cloud9 or TSM immediately. Oh my goodness. That's an oof. I mean, you know, we were talking earlier on in the week, like, oh, maybe they're going to lose on purpose and make sure that they have an easier time in the qualifier. Well, that's certainly not the case now. You want to get in, you want to qualify, and if you have already, if you're Renegades or 100 Thieves, you are absolutely ecstatic that you got through the opponents you did. You dealt with it, and now you don't need to worry about it anymore. Whereas Cloud9 and TSM, you know, I don't want to like put pressure out there and like say things that aren't going to come to transpire, but that's a lot of pressure to not, you know, to fail qualifying again would be a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So I you know, I think there's a lot that that those teams can also, you know, go back and look at and realize.
Yeah, and
one made mistakes.
Yeah, and one simple thing for me to add on to that too, it's like, oh, is it going to be still a tough run for them, for Renegades or for Envy or whoever, if they still have to match versus TSM and Cloud9? Like, I think as much as we're giving praise to TSM's roster, to Cloud9's roster, and to Sentinel's rosters, for example, I think you should definitely start giving that same amount of praise for the Renegades, for the 100 Thieves and stuff like that too. I think they've done a tremendous amount of work to be able to get there. And, you know, it shows that, just like I said, when it comes down to the first strike into the top 8 finals, you know that those guys are going to put even tenfold the amount of work needed and necessary to try to get into that $100,000 prize pool. So I think they're going to definitely come prepared. And if anything, I think the rosters such as Sentinels, TSM, and Cloud9 should be scared and think about it that way. But when we look back at so far how Envy's doing, and they're making it to the finals tomorrow, that's the dark horse of Valorant right now for North America in the discussion to see if they're going to be that new number one to join in with everybody else in these conversations.
Yeah, I think I would agree there as well. Well, before I wrap everything up tonight, this is the end of our Nerd Street Gamers 2 stream because there's only one best of 3, or is it best of 5 left tomorrow?
Best of 5.
Best of 5, there we go, between Envy and whoever wins now tonight in that Sentinels 100 Thieves game, which means we won't be running a second stream. I just wanted to get your guys' like reflection on everything that's happened. What's been your favorite moment in the tournament? I mean, it doesn't have to have happened on this stream, but yeah, I'll say my first to give you guys some time to think.
Thank you. I'm like on the spot over here, like,
so many matches.
Make something up.
Yeah, there's been so many good moments, honestly. I was thinking about this sort of in the break, like of all of the matches that's happened. Unfortunately, I've not had that much time to watch the A stream, but for me, Renegades upsetting Cloud9 Blue, honestly, at the end of that game, my jaw was like on the floor. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was so clean. You know, often we do see these upsets, but they don't normally come in the form of one team outclassing the other. It's normally, you know, someone making a mistake, someone getting punished, someone not being totally on form. But that is not what we saw today in that Renegades Cloud9 Blue. So for me, I would have to go with that one. But yeah, you guys got one now?
I think I do.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
All right. I'll just say something a little bit more general, but kind of along the same vein as yours, which would be, I think what's really exciting to me about this event in particular, and the fact that this is an open tournament to get here, to get to this point. There's so many teams that normally don't get the spotlight, don't get an opportunity to be competing against the best teams in North America. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you're a young, I don't know, 15-year-old gamer who wants to be a pro Valorant player someday, like, these open tournaments are a great way to start and get introduced to competitive Valorant. That said, some of these teams that we have seen putzing around and kind of, you know, having mixed results, I guess you could say, in tier 2 and tier 3, whatever you want to describe that as in Valorant, other than the top teams, whatever that subsection is. Those guys are finally here competing against the best teams in North America. And like you're saying, Yinsu, I mean, for Renegades to go from being a team that like maybe wins some of these kind of crappy events that no one really cares about and maybe are competitive there, to being like, okay, we just beat Cloud9. We're going to take it to Envy on one of their better maps. Yeah. And that is something that like, we saw complexity finally starting to come into their own in the very same vein. Slimy Boogerman. Like those guys, I can't believe I just said that out loud. Slimy Boogerman. That's a team name, by the way. Good Lord. And I'm glad that I didn't have to cast any of their games so far this week. Thank goodness.
Just by team name.
But I mean, when Vance, this is a little heartfelt moment, but when I came up in video games, you know what I mean? Like having the opportunity to play against the best players meant a lot to me. And like seeing those teams and those organizations on the other side of the field from you or whatever the case may be, it's pretty exciting, and it's a cool thing to see in esports and gaming. And for these guys who maybe spent a lot of time in Counter-Strike without much success, never made it pro, never made it to that next level, to finally be here with this spotlight on you, having qualified for this event. Speaking of Renegades specifically here, man, that's got to feel so good. It's almost a Cinderella story in that regard, and it's certainly a place where you can absolutely take into the full context of how important it is to these players, these teams, these organizations that are, spending time and effort to get better at the game and get to that point. So I just wanted to gush for a moment about how cool it is to see those teams get to where they are now. And this is why video games are so cool, man.
For sure. I echo these sentiments too. I think right now we're still in the middle of shaping up the scene for North America, where I'm actually really excited to figure out when we actually have an international tournament who's really the best one in North America. We always had that conversation before, but now we have a little bit more spice while we're still waiting for that to happen, to still figure out who's going to be the number one team in North America. And like said, as we have a lot of these tier 2 teams that have a chance to now compete, make it to the top 16, make it to the top 32 on top of that as well, I think it's showing a lot of promise into the growing scene of Valorant. And when like Lex, like myself, that kind of grew up in the competitive space and kind of discovered esports and competitive gaming through Counter-Strike, it took a while for Counter-Strike to actually build up to its popularity, maybe a couple of years. But you already see now how hungry and young these players are coming in right now, mixed with the veterans too from different scenes, and they're finding a new breath of competition, a new breath of will to want to compete for the boomers. I'm talking about the Hiko, the Steel, and whatnot. And to still see them perform at the top level right now is beautiful to watch. And I just can't wait to see what the next few months have here for First Strike, or at least for Valorant.
Absolutely.
But even then, like, we still have a finals tomorrow, so it's not over yet. It's gonna be sick. It's gonna be a sick finals tomorrow.
I'm glad you brought up, potential international tournaments, because can't wait to see my boys G2 smack a few teams over here in NA.
Yeah. Valorant. We'll see. They're only playing BO1s anyways.
Oh, don't get me started. Well, anyway, that is all the time we have today, unfortunately. But a massive thank you to you two for riding with us all week. And also massive thank you to all of the other casters who have been involved on this stream. Thank you so much to you guys for watching at home. And make sure to tune in tomorrow into twitch.tv/NerdStreetGamers for that grand final at 12 p.m. Pacific time.